Hello, what is up? It's good to be here. Welcome everybody. I'm here in my empty room, just me and my dying plants, and they're fine. They're doing fine. They complain, just you'll get nothing and like it. I'm here. What am I going to talk about? Well, everyone by now has heard the news that Games Workshop is almost definitely bringing the Grand Cathay Army into the old world. I mean, the fact that we're already assuming it's going to happen because there was a blurry picture, you know, we bite on things. We take whatever scraps Games Workshop throws us, and this is a giant scrap, and we're all fighting over it, and it looks very cool. I mean, like, look, first let me throw a bucket of ice water on everybody. Um, even if it is Cathay based on this blurry picture, this I mean, there are clear pictures of Bigfoot. So I mean, first of all, it was implied, which means it wasn't even announced, which means they probably won't announce it until officially until the summer, and then they won't even give you sneak previews until probably late fall. So you're not going to be seeing any army until next year, most likely. I might be wrong, in which case just don't rub it in. That's petty. So a lot of us expected this. I mean, current players have been clamoring for Kislev and Cathay for decades, and well, Games Workshop doesn't like the people who play their games. They tend to be very mean to them. They have this very sadistic sort of attitude. But a lot of people have sort of expected this because in the data, when you look at Total War 3, Warhammer Total War 3, Grand Cathay is the most popular army in Asia, and by far. And it makes sense. I mean, if you're looking at, and so if they're trying to get people in that market into the game, it makes sense they would choose an army that they're already using in Total War 3. And that Total War 3 seems to be the platform that brings people into the game more than, say, game stores and tournaments. Um, so it's a no-brainer. And I mean, like, it makes sense, I guess. Like, the most popular army in Europe is Kislev, which makes it so, I guess if you're European, you enjoy European lore, you're into Kislev. If you live in Asia and you enjoy lore of like the Chindy, like the Chinese lore specifically, it's Cathay. And if you're like me, that's why I'm starting an ogre army, because it fits me and my history of being a large lumbering beast. Um, and let me just say, if they're a British company, I'm glad that they looked at another area of the world and said, let's bring these people into this game, rather, because historically, when Great Britain looks at another country, it's followed by stealing all of their priceless artifacts and stuffing them in a closet in Westminster Abbey. So I'm glad to see this. Look, America's not much better. I'm not. All right, I digress. Let's move on. Let's ugly topic, ugly history, ugly history. Games Workshop. Games Workshop has not introduced a fantasy army since 6th edition, and that was over 20 years ago. That's when they gave us. Let's see, they gave us Ogre Kingdoms. They also separated Tomb Kings from Vampire Counts. And I think they separated Chaos into Demons, Warriors of Chaos, and Beastmen. I think that was 6th edition too. That was 20 years ago. 20 years. What's fascinating about this, that if everything's true and Cathay's coming out, we kind of know from Warhammer Total War 3 what we might be getting. Supposedly, Games Workshop was heavily involved in the design of the Cathay army for Total War 3. So we can kind of see, and I think that means we can get a head start on anyone who's interested in it, on modeling, kit bashing, doing all sorts of things. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong about this, but it's the internet, so I'm gonna tell it with the confidence that I'm right, and no one will be able to tell the difference. But all that being said, everything being said, assuming it's coming out, here are some things. Assuming next year there are going to be Cathay armies on the table, here are some things that I would love to see. Not just Games Workshop models, which I assume they're going to kill it with the models. They've been doing great with models, so I assume they're going to be great. That aside, I would also love to see some other things. I'd love to see kit bashes, scratch builds, and things like that. So here are some of the things that I would love to see. Also, I promise I am not going to try to pronounce any of the names in Chinese folklore with a Chinese accent, or yeah, I promise I will not do that. It's almost like when I go to Chipotle and I see a white person be like, oh, the carne asada, I want to so not going to do it. Uh, I do a British accent and a Canadian accent. That's it. But I've already been, I don't know, gave it to Britain pretty harsh this video. So I'm out to that. All right, number five. The number five thing I would love to see kit bashed infantry and cavalry. I would love to, and what I mean by that, granted, they're probably going to have ready-made sets. We know looking at Total War 3, there are peasant bowmen, peasant crossbowmen, there are spears. They also have a next, like, I think they're called the Jade warriors, Jade crossbowmen, Jade, all these different things. I would love to see some kit bashes because a lot of them looks very similar to like dark elves or high elves where you could just swap the head out. But I also think, and I don't see this in Total War 3, but some of the weapons aren't really as interesting as I thought they would be. I thought there'd be like hook swords, I thought there'd be like the I don't know what they're called. There's like a crescent moon spear, rope darts. I think all this stuff. I think there's so many different things you could add through a kit bash that would be really interesting. And there's one of the things that's almost definitely got to be in the cavalry will be the longma. Not sure. I've never heard of that before. I looked it up, and I guess it's a horse with dragon blood. So it's horses that breathe fire. They have dragon scales. They also have these leathery wings. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I had no idea what they were. I looked at the pictures and I just assumed it was some poor deformed horse, and it's so much more than that. So much cooler. So I hope they do a great job with the sculpts. If not, I think there's so much more. There's in Japanese folklore there is a kirin, which is apparently a very good beer. But it's also in Chinese folklore. And it's something that I remember when I played game Ultima Online. It was one of the mounts you could buy and ride, which that's all I ever wanted, and I never got it. So that's why I'm cranky, and that's why I take it out on my plants. Um, I would love to see something like that too. Yeah, so there's a lot to do with that, and I also think unit fillers. I think there's so much opportunity for unit fillers. Um, maybe jade sculptures, maybe there could be other really fun things. I think there's a lot of ample opportunity for that, and I would love to see it. The number four thing I would love to see lanterns. No, not lanterns, flying lanterns. Yeah. These things are great. There's these like hot air balloons that fire cannons at people and fire down at people. I don't know how it's going to work. I know we have the dwarfs have something like a gyro bomber, but I think this is more like a platform that people just like throw stuff at. So I think it can, I don't know if they're going to change the rules for it or not. But I was looking at this and it's basically like I know there's the Chinese lantern, which is like a paper lantern with a light in it that you buy in a dollar store. But it's that with like this base, and the base seems to be taken from the design seems to be taken very heavily from the Chinese junk boats, which yeah, which there are Chinese junk boat models, and I think a kit bash would be very easy to do with this. But also, if you do essentially, if you do the lantern, it's essentially like a hot air balloon in that you have this huge canvas that you can create designs on. You can make an amazing paintings on this thing. You can make not just you don't just have to do like Cathay characters. You can do for the right painter. You have so much room to work with. I hope to see some insane paint jobs with this, and yeah, just great models. Number three, the War Compass. I had no idea what a War Compass was. I still don't. But in Total War 3, it's a machine. Yeah, isn't it one of those things where like you stick a needle in and then you draw a circle? That's what I thought. I don't know. In Total War 3, it's a war machine that I assume it'll make more sense when the Arcane Journal comes out. But in the game, it sort of like helps you like it's like a magic source on wheels, essentially. Like you can draw magic from this thing. It's this, it looks like kind of like a gazebo pulled by oxen, which, I'm not too blown away by it, I mean, this little shed pulled by cows. All right, whatever. On paper, it doesn't seem that great, but I think there are so many possibilities. First of all, it doesn't have to be oxen. There are, if you look at the creatures in Asia, it could be panda bears. They're still bears. They can still maul a person. Panda bears they're bears. Come on, just because they look cute, don't give them don't hold that against them. Tigers, Asian elephants. It could be any mythical entity from folklore. I think it would be cool. I think like you could do like a lot with this. It just does, it doesn't have to be like when I saw the pictures, it didn't seem very mystical magic. It seemed more mall talent show magic, like a magic. And I think that there could be so much more than that. And I think the opportunity for also a scratch build, like anytime you see a structure, like why haven't I seen a war wagon that's been scratch built? It's basically a structure on wheels, the Empire War Wagon. I think someone could do something like that. I would think it would be very doable and cool. But that's what it is. So compass, that was number three. Number two, terracotta sentinels. I love terracotta warriors. I think they're the coolest thing ever. They're the whole army of the terracotta warriors. I saw a documentary about it, but also like before that, I was like, I knew nothing about it, knew nothing. Like I think I remember like the only thing I knew about it is that they existed. They were buried underground and they were unearthed as part of one of the biggest archaeological digs ever. But and it apparently they're all different. Like they're all different. All like 8,000, 10,000 of them. They're all different. They have different facial structures, different builds, different ranks, different clothing. Um, yeah, so if you watched Hellboy 2 and saw the Terracotta Warriors, they were literally all the same. But that's not what they were like. They were even horses. They made terracotta horses for the Terracotta Army, which, yeah, like I never knew that. Very cool stuff. Now, the Sentinel is definitely going to be different. It's not going to be a terracotta warrior. It is going to be more like a giant. In the pictures, it looks just like, yeah, it's like a Sentinel. It's like a guardian. So, but where am I going with this? I think that would be a very fun project to do because sculpting a giant versus sculpting a little tiny mini that's this like this is a Noblar. Imagine trying to sculpt this. Imagine trying to sculpt this little guy. Now say, try and get all these little tiny details. It's like doing microsurgery. But now you have a giant, something that's this big, you can do so much more. And also it doesn't have to be a face the way like it does like porcelain faces will look different than a human face. There's a lot more to it. So you can do it's much easier to sculpt. Or you do a helmet. Like the one in the game has this helmet and it has like fire and breathing out of it. Almost like that in Thor, the I can't remember what it's called, the construct that goes to Earth. I feel like I'm doing a lot of movie references. Trust me, I do get out. I do get out and read books. Yeah, but I think it would be a cool thing to sculpt. I think it would be a cool thing to look at. And I just think there's actually if you use milliput, I think there's a terracotta milliput. Anyway, I think there are a lot of possibilities for that. Also, it's all armored, so in the game anyway. So anyway, next, finally, the number one thing I would love to see on the table next year with the Cathay army, dragons. Dragons, not just dragons, Chinese dragons. I mean, get out, all right? Who doesn't want to make a dragon? Who doesn't want to sculpt a dragon? I mean, it's the epitome of the game. Like if you were any one creature that's the centerpiece of your army, it's a dragon. Um, and I think Chinese dragons, they're way different than anything that has been in Warhammer Fantasy. Um, but also they just seem way more expressive. Maybe it's because they have more human traits. They have like beards, mustaches, they have manes, human eyes. They also one thing that's really interesting with these, no wings. Yeah, which are a huge pain in the ass to sculpt. There are some Chinese dragons with wings in the mythology apparently. So I apologize. I'm not, I'm talking half out of my ass in an empty room. So, but the ones I've seen, they do not have wings, and that's the hardest thing to sculpt. That was the hardest thing for me when I did my little flying lion thing. It was the hardest thing to sculpt. So yeah, I think this is great. Also, now in Total War 3, the leaders or the Lord characters turned into dragons. Like when they were in their human form, they had more magical powers. Where they're in their dragon form, they had more like, uh, you know, they could do more damage in combat. Um, I don't think Games Workshop's gonna do that. I think it's much more likely that they'll either do a character riding a dragon, or the character will be a dragon, or they'll be two separate characters. I just don't see logistically how they could have a mini that's on a 30 by 30 base who's like maybe he's in this unit's charging, this unit's charging, and now you have to say, oh, I'm taking this character out and replacing it with this one. It just it would be like me trying on my roommate's shoes. It's just not gonna fit. She's like 5'5". Like no matter how many times I try, it doesn't work. I'll try again later. Maybe who knows? Maybe this time it'll be different. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So yeah, but anyway, I think I think these dragons will be very cool. I also would love to see, which again, we haven't seen the models yet. We don't know what's coming, but a dragon transformation. I think that would be the killer thing. I think that would be so cool. Could you imagine how great that would be? Like a mini of a transformation being and painted well. I mean, that could be a golden demon winner easily. So anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you guys are excited. If you think of anything that you would like to see with the Cathay Army, even if it's just that you can't wait for the minis that come out, please let me know. But that's all. I don't like saying like, comment, and subscribe. So I don't know. Hate, shut up, and cancel. How's that? All right. Thank you very much. Bye.